The Athlons have taken the city. I repeat, the Athlons have now full control of Pendragon Fort. All glory to the Queen.
Sometimes when visiting new places, many people stare at me and I hear children or very young people whisper, "What are the Athlons?" And some of you have asked me exactly the same thing. Who are you? Why are you fighting for? I will try to be as brief as possible. We are what we are. The answer to the second is, we were born for war. We grew up with it, and we will die for it. War is our language, and the peoples who opposed us fell. War is our language, but so is peace, compassion, and learning. We fight for honor. We fight for glory. We fight for peace. The origins of the Athlon go back many, many years ago in a succession of events that makes no sense to explain now, and history is not very clear about it. I only know that the world needed soldiers trained in the art of war to eliminate an imminent threat, and the generations of that time could not meet this requirement. They had grown accustomed to a comfortable and banal way of life. They were weak and fragile in every way, especially physical and mental. However, in other nations, and because each ruler wanted to be the one to save his people from this supposed threat, battle groups and small armies began to form. One of the most promising, but also the wildest, were the Opterons. Barbarians willing to do anything to expand their empire. And they succeeded. They could easily stand out from other villages who barely had combat skills. According to the nations of the world, the Opteron were a strong candidate to face the threat that so much fear generated in the rulers of yesteryear. The problem is that the Opteron leaders did not want to be simple soldiers, much less follow orders from a group of comfortable politicians and privileged castes of the planet. They wanted their own path of conquest. After the war race of nations, the Opterons had become conquerors. They were not interested in defending the towns, but in dominating them. In that defenseless world, there was nothing that could stop them. At this point, the Queen was the only one with great resources and had formed a new growing army with different peoples and slaves. But even she could not subdue the Opterons. A wise council then decided to create a long-term plan, form warriors from the cradle, calling on advanced peoples like the Xeon community to dabble in pagan abilities that involved modifying children from the womb to make them stronger and smarter. This didn't work out very well in the first few generations as their bodies and minds were capable, but their combat abilities weren't up to the hype. They were raised by machines and screens without a soul or fear. Intelligent machinery without judgment or combat experience was of no use. Although little by little they were improving. The following generations, although with more battles lost than won, managed to train the later ones better. That has been perfected over the years. Over time, the Athlons managed to outperform the Opterons on all battlefronts by having better discipline, better technology, and greater combat prowess. Many generations had passed, but finally the world had its protectors. Over time, these beings formed their own character. They were known as Athlon, which means is competition in basic language. Maybe that's what we are. A vile competition between nations to see who could create the best army or its best protector. Then came the age of 1,000 wars, culminating in the occupation wars and the final fall of the Opterons at the hands of the Queen. But this also marked the end of our history as protectors of nations, although I suppose that story is for another time. Today, we Athlons are considered outcasts or traitors to the crown, something completely false, and I will deny it until my final day. We are not welcome on royal lands or allies to the Queen. The few Athlon who dare to cross the continents are usually persecuted and killed. Others decide to take their risks and settle in sparsely populated and weak civilizations. They welcome us with open arms, knowing that having one of our own on their side will always ensure that their people are somehow safe. Others, on the other hand, prefer to reject us for fear that the Queen's forces will attack their town or take reprisals for giving us asylum. If you are interested in knowing more about us and our culture, just let me know. I will be delighted to share stories with all of you.